Duan Ling Tian? An anomaly? Originally, Zishang hadn't considered Duan Ling Tian to be an anomaly, but now, after Feng Wei's reminder, he couldn't help but be stunned. www.com. Old Ghost, you've always been unable to figure out why Duan Ling Tian can use soul skills, haven't you? Do you think it's possible he's an anomaly? Zishang contacted the wisp of residual soul hidden within him and asked in a deep voice, "It's possible." After a long pause, an old, eerie voice replied, "Of course, it could also be for other reasons. Nothing is absolute. In this world, no one can claim to know everything." Zishang's pupils constricted, a hint of apprehension flickering within them. Then he speculated, "I actually think he's very likely an anomaly. Otherwise, how could he possess such powerful strength at such a young age? Regardless of whether Duan Ling Tian is an anomaly or not, he must not be allowed to live. I have a feeling that if you don't kill him soon, you will be the one who dies." Old Ghost's words were filled with dread. Moreover, he has the demon's sealing tablet in his hands, and he knows of my existence, and that the demon's sealing tablet can restrain me. If you die, I won't survive either. So, Old Ghost, you must help me. Figure out how to once and for all completely erase Duan Ling Tian from this world. Zishang's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said fiercely, "I will absolutely not let him live." Old Ghost's eerie and hoarse voice was filled with bone-chilling killing intent, making Zishang shiver involuntarily. This day. Even he didn't know the true origins of this Old Ghost, but he knew that at his peak, Old Ghost was definitely a powerhouse above the Martial Emperor realm. Zishang. Seeing that Zishang didn't answer his question and instead seemed lost in thought, Feng Wei couldn't help but frown and called out to him. Zishang then snapped back to reality. "Deputy Fortress Lord Feng, you really guessed correctly. There's something. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I've decided to tell you." "Speak." Feng Wei raised an eyebrow, a little expectant. "The main reason I want to kill Duan Ling Tian as quickly as possible is because he can restrain my innate divine ability. We are both anomalies, but his bloodline is quite special. The attacks I unleash after using my innate divine ability will spontaneously dissipate and return to their normal strength before even getting close to him." Zishang slowly explained. This explanation was precisely what Old Ghost had taught him to say. "So that's how it is." Feng Wei nodded in understanding, then smiled and asked, "Zishang, with such a nemesis, you must be feeling terrible, right?" "Of course. I wish I could tear him into a million pieces and grind his bones to dust." Zishang's expression became serious as he said fiercely, "Very good. In that case, we have a common enemy. Do you have a way to deal with him?" Feng Wei asked, "Unless we enter the purgatory illusion again and have Lu Yong kill him. Otherwise, neither I nor Lu Yong have the strength to kill him." Zishang shook his head and said, "Purgatory illusion?" Feng Wei frowned. "That purgatory illusion consumes a lot of resources every time it's activated. Activating it again is quite unlikely. If that's the case, it will be difficult to eliminate him in the selections after the 10 Dynasty martial arts competition." Zishang said, "How strong is that illusion soul skill he uses?" "As far as I know, whether it's those special gifted demonic beasts or the legendary Martial Emperor powerhouses, their spiritual power techniques at most target beings with spiritual power equal to or weaker than their own." Feng Wei frowned and said, "Yonger is a void-prying realm 3rd level martial artist, and his spiritual power level is also at void-prying realm 3rd level. Could it be that Duan Ling Tian's cultivation has also reached void-prying realm 3rd level?" By the end of his sentence, Feng Wei's pupils couldn't help but constrict. "Deputy Fortress Lord Feng, Duan Ling Tian is different from ordinary martial artists. From what I estimate, he should have consumed some kind of spiritual fruit that enhances the soul level. This has made his spiritual power 2 levels higher than his own cultivation." Zishang said, "A year ago, at the Dynasty martial competition in the Dahan Dynasty, I witnessed his illusion soul skill. At that time, his cultivation was at Void Initiation Realm 9th level, but his spiritual power was at Void Prying Realm 2nd level." "What?" Feng Wei was greatly surprised. He had heard of spiritual fruits that could enhance the soul level before. So, if he breaks through to Void Prying Realm 1st level now, His spiritual power will also break through to void prying realm 3rd level? Imagine. Zishang nodded, then said with a look of apprehension, "Moreover, I estimate that his current cultivation might not be as simple as void prying realm 1st level. It's highly likely that he has already broken through to void prying realm 2nd level." Void prying realm 2nd level? A young man only 28 years old? Feng Wei couldn't help but gasp at this moment. He truly began to regard Duan Ling Tian as someone significant, a genius he could openly acknowledge and whose talent was extraordinary, which means his current spiritual power level is highly likely to be at void prying realm 4th level. Feng Wei took a deep breath. If that's truly the case, once he uses that soul skill, none of the young talents from the 10 dynasties participating in this 10 dynasty martial arts competition will be able to stand against him. Not necessarily. If among the remaining 40-odd young talents from the 10 dynasties, there is someone who has broken through to void prying realm 4th level and is also an inscription master, they might just be able to counter Duan Ling Tian and defeat him, Zishang said. Could such a person exist? Feng Wei frowned, somewhat disbelieving. Nothing is absolute. Zishang continued. If such a person appears, I believe that as long as Deputy Fortress Lord Feng makes a significant promise and asks them to help kill Duan Ling Tian, they should not refuse. As Zishang said this, a sinister smile appeared on his face. Humph. Feng Wei coldly glanced at Zishang and snorted. If it really comes to that, the happiest one will probably be you. Zishang. Deputy Fortress Lord Feng shouldn't say that. Everyone will be happy together. Zishang smiled faintly. Oh, right. You just mentioned I could get a treasure within reach. What was it? Remembering what Zishang had just said, Feng Wei asked, Deputy Fortress Lord Feng, that was actually just a delaying tactic of mine, something I said casually. Deputy Fortress Lord Feng is wise and knew early on that I was just putting on an act. Zishang said unhurriedly, a sharp glint flashing deep within his eyes. Since the people of Canglangbao were going to kill Duan Ling Tian regardless of whether he revealed the existence of the demon sealing tablet, why should he mention it? Once the demon sealing tablet fell into the hands of someone from Canglang Fort, although he could retrieve it later, who knew what unforeseen circumstances might occur during that time? First, let's see if there are any young talents who are not afraid of Duan Ling Tian's illusion soul skill. If there is, that person, under the promise of the Deputy Fortress Lord of Canglang Fort, will definitely take action to kill Duan Ling Tian. And the spatial ring in Duan Ling Tian's hand will most likely fall into that person's hands. Even if he is a void prying realm 4th level existence, as long as I let Old Ghost possess me, I can still kill him within a short time and retrieve Duan Ling Tian's spatial ring. Zishang began to scheme in his mind. Of course, if no one can suppress Duan Ling Tian in the subsequent selections of the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts competition, then I will tell Feng Wei about the demon sealing tablet in Duan Ling Tian's hand, which can amplify power by 1-fold. For the demon sealing tablet, I believe Feng Wei will spare no effort to eliminate Duan Ling Tian. Zishang had made 2 preparations for his scheme. Duan Ling Tian, this time, you are bound to die. Zishang's eyes were filled with extreme coldness. Duan Ling Tian, of course, knew nothing of what was happening in the inner fort. He was currently quietly comprehending the wind concept in his room at the Water Lotus Pavilion, with the wind concept fragment in his hand. Duan Ling Tian was surrounded by wisps of clearly visible gale force winds, which were profound and constantly growing stronger at this moment. Duan Ling Tian felt as if he had completely merged into the wind. He was the wind, and the wind was him. Lost in his comprehension, Duan Ling Tian forgot the passage of time. Big Brother Duan. It wasn't until a familiar voice reached his ears that Duan Ling Tian snapped back to reality and put away the wind concept fragment in his hand. Tian Wu. Opening the door, Duan Ling Tian realized that the sky was already turning a pale white, signaling the official arrival of a new day. Big Brother Duan. We should go. After a night's rest, Feng Tian Wu appeared even more radiant and charming. Not only that, Duan Ling Tian also noticed some subtle changes in her. Could Tian Wu have broken through? Duan Ling Tian was startled, and his spiritual power extended out. He only relaxed after discovering that Feng Tianwu's cultivation was still at Void Prying Realm first level. It seems I'm being too paranoid. And rightly so, Tianwu only broke through to Void Prying Realm first level a few days ago. Even if she were to break through again, it would take at least a while longer. Shaking his head, Duan Ling Tian and Feng Tianwu walked side by side. After meeting up with Feng Wu Dao, they headed towards the arena. At the same time, many people had already gathered above the arena. Duan Ling Tian, brother Ling Tian. Before long, Su Li and Zhang Shouyong also arrived. Jian Shisan, walking in front of Su Li, nodded to Duan Ling Tian and the two others, acknowledging their presence. Whoosh. Whoosh, soon, Dao Wu and Long Yun, master and disciple, arrived as scheduled. In a short while, all the representatives and young talents from the 10 dynasties had gathered. After a night's rest, all the representatives from the 10 dynasties were refreshed and energetic, completely devoid of the despondency they had shown the previous evening when witnessing the corpses of the young talents. Whoosh. A whistling sound of wind came from the direction of the inner fort, causing everyone to look up involuntarily. The tall young man flew through the air, arriving above the arena in a flash. Lu Yong. Seeing Lu Yong, everyone present knew that the two deputy fortress lords of Tsanglong Fort should also be arriving soon. Asterisk, as everyone present had anticipated. Shortly after Lu Yong appeared, the two vice fort masters of Tsanglong Fort also materialized above the dueling arena. Vice Fort Master. Vice Fort Master Ning. Vice Fort Master Feng. Representatives and young talents from the various dynasties bowed to Ning Can and Feng Wei. Ning Can and Feng Wei nodded faintly. And soon, Ning Can's booming voice announced, "Today, the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts meet continues. The second round of selection will take place in our Tsanglong Fort's Illusory Underground Palace." Illusory Underground Palace. Immediately, the representatives and young talents from the 10 dynasties couldn't help but look puzzled, clearly unaware of what kind of place the Illusory Underground Palace was. Whoosh. 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 Soon, everyone saw the 10 Tsanglong Fort elders who had appeared yesterday, one by one, flying out from the inner fort and appearing before them. You opened the exit to the Illusory Underground Palace. Ning Can looked at one of the Tsanglong Fort elders and said indifferently, "Yes." The designated Tsanglong Fort elder respectfully responded, then swooped down, landing at the upper right corner of the dueling arena. Boom. Under everyone's watchful eyes, the Tsanglong Fort elder stomped his foot, and the large floor tile in the upper right corner of the dueling arena began to loosen, showing signs of detaching from the ground. Immediately after, the Tsanglong Fort elder reached out and forcibly removed the large floor tile. That is, soon, everyone was astonished by the sight beneath the large floor tile. A swirling mist was rising, making it impossible to discern what lay within. This is the exit of the Illusory Underground Palace. The 50 of you will need to enter through 50 different entrances, pass through the entire Illusory Underground Palace, and emerge from here. Ning Can's voice came at the opportune moment, bringing everyone, including Duan Ling Tian, back to their senses. 50 entrances? Everyone was startled, not expecting a mere underground palace to have so many entrances. The rules for the second round of selection are not difficult for any of you. The 50 of you will enter the Illusory Underground Palace through 50 different entrances. Once inside, you must pass through the various checkpoints within the underground palace at the fastest possible speed and emerge from this sole exit. Ning Can continued. At the location of the Illusory Underground Palace exit, just as you are about to emerge, you will see a total of 50 numbered tokens. The 50 numbered tokens, from number 1 to number 50, represent the specific rankings for the second round of selection. The second round of selection will not eliminate anyone. It only establishes rankings. As soon as Ning Can finish speaking, the eyes of most young talents lit up. Not eliminating anyone meant that this second round of selection would not involve any dangers, unlike the first round. Additionally, I must remind you of one crucial point. Those who enter the Illusory Underground Palace and obtain tokens with higher rankings will have the priority to choose their opponents. For example, The person who gets the number 1 token can choose their opponent first in the third round of selection. Then the person with the number 2 token chooses their opponent, and so on. In the second round of selection, the person who obtains the lowest ranked token will not have the right to choose an opponent in the third round of selection and can only be chosen. Also, those who obtain tokens from number 1 to number 10, while having priority in choosing opponents, cannot challenge each other. They can only choose to challenge those with tokens ranked outside the top 10. Ningkan continued, immediately. A group of young talents, including Duan Ling Tian, had their eyes light up. Those who obtained higher numbered tokens would be able to choose their opponents freely in the third round of selection. Furthermore, those who obtained tokens from number 1 to number 10 would even receive immunity in the third round of selection, meaning they could not be challenged by others. The higher the numbered token, the more benefits. If I could get a token from number 1 to number 10, that would be amazing. Not only would I not be challenged, but I could also prioritize challenging those with lower ranked tokens. It seems I'll have to give my all in this second round of selection. I will definitely strive to get a token from number 1 to number 10. Above the dueling arena, most of the young talents from the 10 dynasties were, as if injected with chicken blood, each incredibly excited. They wanted to get high-ranking numbered tokens. Only then would they have a chance to advance in the third round of selection, although no one would be eliminated in the second round of selection. From the current situation, many people would certainly be eliminated in the third round of selection. And to advance in the third round of selection, the ranking of the numbered tokens competed for in the second round of selection was crucial. This second round of selection is quite interesting. The young talents who get tokens from number 1 to number 10 must be the cream of the crop among the 50 young talents present. In the third round of selection, these 10 will not face each other, which means the most exciting duels will be saved for last. Zhang Shouyong's eyes flashed, as he said with a smile, "It seems the third round of selection should determine the top 10 of this 10 dynasty martial arts meet, and the fourth round of selection, which is probably the final round, should determine the specific rankings of the top 10 in the 10 dynasty martial arts meet." Su Li couldn't help but speculate as he spoke. That should be the case. Duan Ling Tian nodded in agreement. The third and fourth rounds of selection are undoubtedly the main events of this 10 dynasty martial arts meet. If we can get tokens from number 1 to number 10, we can take the initiative in the third round of selection. As long as we are not defeated by the people we choose to challenge, we can easily secure the top 10 spots in this 10 dynasty martial arts meet. Feng Tianwu said with some anticipation. That's easy to say, but getting those number 1 to number 10 tokens is not that simple. After all, 50 people are competing for these 10 numbered tokens. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. He was not so optimistic. 50 entrances, 1 exit. Obviously, in this second round of selection's illusory underground palace, everyone will eventually converge in one place. And that place should be where the 50 numbered tokens are kept. Feng Wu Dao said. Once several people enter that place at the same time, they will definitely fight over the higher-ranked numbered tokens. This second round of selection will likely involve some struggles, unless you are willing to take a lower-ranked numbered token. Feng Wu Dao's words resonated deeply with Duan Ling Tian and the others. If they entered the place where the numbered tokens were kept at the same time as others, they would certainly not stand by and watch others take the higher-ranked numbered tokens. 50 people, all wanting to get those number 1 to number 10 tokens. The competition will surely be fierce. Duan Ling Tian's eyes shone with determination. No matter what, I am determined to get one of the top 10 numbered tokens. Not only that, my goal is the number 1 token. Although all the top 10 numbered tokens had privileges, the number 1 token undoubtedly had the greatest privilege. The person who got the number 1 token could choose their opponent first. And at that time, they could directly challenge the person at the very bottom, who obtained the number 50 token. In fact, not only Duan Ling Tian thought this way now, but the other 49 young talents thought the same. Now, follow the 10 elders of my Songlong Fort to the 50 entrances of the illusory underground palace. Vice Fort Master Feng will go with you, and then you will enter together after he gives the command. Ningkan said, "Go." As soon as Ningkan finished speaking, Feng Wei gave an order and was the first to fly out. Immediately, The representatives and young talents from the 10 dynasties followed, including Jian Shisan and Dao Wu, for a time. Only Ning Qin remained above the dueling arena. A moment later, the group arrived at the eastern area of Songlong Fort's outer fort, where 50 floor tiles had been lifted, revealing a pitch-black scene. The 50 of you stand in front of one entrance each and enter together after I give the command, Feng Wei said indifferently. Immediately, the young talents from the 10 dynasties flew out one after another, each standing by the entrance of the illusory underground palace, ready to enter at any moment. Let's go. Duan Ling Tian and the others followed, flying out. At the same time, his elemental energy condensed into a message that entered the ears of Feng Tianwu, Su Li, and Zhang Shouyong. Everything inside this illusory underground palace is unknown to us. But since Vice Fort Master Ning said there are many checkpoints inside, it probably won't be too simple. To get through it, we might encounter quite a few difficulties and obstacles. No matter how difficult it is, we will definitely get through it at the fastest possible speed. Feng Tianwu and the other two were full of confidence, seeing that the three of them were in good spirits. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but smile faintly, then landed by an entrance at the same time. The other young talents also took their positions. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian felt a cold, sharp gaze fixed on him. He instinctively turned his head to look, meeting the gaze, Zishang. Looking at the owner of the cold gaze, Duan Ling Tian's expression darkened, and killing intent flashed in his eyes. Duan Ling Tian, your illusory soul skill won't be of much use in this second round of selection. You probably won't have a chance to get one of the top 10 numbered tokens. Zishang's elemental energy condensed voice came through, filled with thick sarcasm. Just watch. I will get the number 1 token. You are destined to be trampled under my feet. Zishang continued. In Zishang's opinion, as long as he allowed the remnant soul of old ghost within him to possess his body, his strength would surge, making it easy to pass through the illusory underground palace. He believed that he would be the first to pass through the illusory underground palace and obtain the number 1 token. Humph. Duan Ling Tian scoffed, his elemental energy condensed voice laced with sarcasm. So what if you get the number 1 token? Even if I don't get one of the top 10 numbered tokens, do you dare to challenge me? Do you dare to challenge me? It had to be said that Duan Ling Tian's words were very domineering, and when they reached Zishang's ears, they were like a thunderclap, instantly changing Zishang's expression. Humph. A cold glint flashed in Zishang's eyes as he stared at Duan Ling Tian, muttering under his breath, Duan Ling Tian, enjoy your moment of triumph. You're a dead man walking, so I won't bother arguing with you. Inside the illusory palace, no matter what you encounter, all you need to do is keep pushing forward. Until you reach the end, choose a numbered token, and then you can exit through the arena's exit. Feng Wei said. Seeing that the group of young talents had taken their positions, Feng Wei suddenly roared, Enter! Enter! Feng Wei's thunderous roar pierced the eardrums of the 50 young talents. Including Duan Ling Tian, the 50 young talents jolted, then leaped into the entrance of the illusory palace. After Duan Ling Tian entered the illusory palace, he found himself in an underground passage with uneven cave walls all around him, wind and clouds. Upon entering, Duan Ling Tian didn't hesitate. He hastily activated his movement martial skill with all his might, rushing forward. Of course, as he ran, he didn't forget to extend his spiritual energy, sweeping it forward. If there was anything amiss ahead, he would be able to detect it immediately. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian's extended spiritual energy trembled slightly. Something's happening. Duan Ling Tian's gaze sharpened as he looked ahead. Although he sensed something was wrong, his speed didn't decrease in the slightest, seizing every second. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian, upon entering the illusory palace, was like an unbridled wild horse, only knowing how to reach his destination, completely disregarding everything else. It's wind. After flying forward for a while, Duan Ling Tian finally discovered what awaited him. The biting gale that almost filled the entire cave passage, continuously assailing him. These fierce gales were also accompanied by some solidified wind blades, containing extremely terrifying attacking power. Whoosh! Facing the oncoming wind, Duan Ling Tian didn't dare to hesitate. His elemental energy surged, then transformed into bursts of biting winds that wrapped around his body, wind and clouds. Facing the oncoming gale and wind blades, Duan Ling Tian, enveloped by the vast wind, showed no fear. He charged head-on, allowing the biting gale and wind blades to strike his body. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Duan Ling Tian's materialized wind intent around his body was almost crushed by the oncoming gale and wind blades in an instant, and his speed was forcefully slowed down. Boom, boom. Without any hesitation, Duan Ling Tian's iron fists, wreathed in fierce winds, swept forward, colliding with the oncoming gale and wind blades that in an instant. The resistance Duan Ling Tian faced while moving forward lessened. It's working. Duan Ling Tian's eyes lit up. With a raise of his hand, a sword appeared in his grasp. A sword emanating a terrifying aura, quasi-emperor grade spirit sword. Duan Ling Tian was certain there was no one else here. And the oncoming gale and wind blades were all formed by an inscription array, so there was absolutely no need for him to hold back. Tio reached the end of the illusory palace, which was the exit, as quickly as possible. He had to go all out. Whoosh. With a raise of his hand, Duan Ling Tian wielded the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword as if it were an extension of his arm, thrusting it forward fiercely. Instantly, two divine dragons, completely formed by materialized wind intent, roared forth. Their four eyes shot out four extreme rays of light, meeting the oncoming gale and wind blades. Immediately, the gale and wind blades were suppressed to some extent, buying Duan Ling Tian an opportunity to break through. Just a little more. Duan Ling Tian's gaze was firm as he swiftly flew forward, intending to rush through the last burst of oncoming gale and wind blades. His extended spiritual energy had already told him that as long as he broke through this final burst of oncoming gale and wind blades, he would have cleared the first stage of the illusory palace, wind and clouds. Whoosh! With the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword leading the way, Duan Ling Tian's entire body and the materialized wind intent on the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword perfectly merged, his whole being seemingly forming a sword. If anyone were here to see Duan Ling Tian's current state, they would be astonished to find that Duan Ling Tian and the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword in his hand had almost become one. The materialized wind intent emanating from his body and the sword almost formed a giant sword, only vaguely revealing Duan Ling Tian and the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword lurking within. This moment, the quasi-emperor grade spirit sword was like the tip of this giant sword, and Duan Ling Tian's entire being was the body of this giant sword. Whoosh! The giant sword pierced through the air, like a swift arrow shot from a powerful bow. This moment, the oncoming gale and wind blades were diverted by the tip of the giant sword, completely shunted to both sides, reducing the resistance on Duan Ling Tian more and more. Finally through. In just an instant, Duan Ling Tian passed through the section of the cave passage ravaged by the gale and wind blades, leaving the inscription array that generated them far behind. Continue. After breaking through the first inscription array, Duan Ling Tian didn't dare to hesitate and continued forward. Moments later, after turning a corner, Duan Ling Tian felt a flash before his eyes. Ahead, clusters of hot red flames were burning, like a sea of fire. First wind, now fire. They are all inscription arrays formed by elemental stones combined with intent fragments. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed. Without any pause, he continued to charge through. These inscription arrays, they shouldn't have been left behind by that Martial Emperor powerhouse, right? Duan Ling Tian thought, secretly wondering. Asterisk if they were inscription arrays left by a Martial Emperor powerhouse. The spiritual energy contained within them would be incredibly powerful, and his current spiritual energy would be unable to interfere with them. But if they weren't inscription arrays left by a Martial Emperor powerhouse, then he would likely be able to interfere with them or even temporarily shut them down. With his spiritual energy as he approached the flames ahead, Duan Ling Tian felt a wave of heat wash over him. Even the fierce winds swirling around his body struggled to block it, showing how formidable the flames were. spiritual energy. Without any hesitation, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy swept out. After entering the flames, it spread along the cave walls of the passage. Moments later, he discovered the fluctuations of the inscriptions that formed the inscription array. It seems I was overthinking. How could a martial emperor powerhouse help the Azure Wolf Fort construct these simple inscription arrays? Duan Ling Tian had never forgotten that the purgatory illusion during the first round of the 10 Dynasty Martial competition was formed by an inscription array left by a martial emperor powerhouse. This had led Duan Ling Tian to subconsciously believe that all the inscription arrays in the Azure Wolf Fort were from the hands of martial emperor powerhouses. The facts proved he was overthinking. Asterisk. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy moved through the inscription array without any resistance. For him, such an inscription array was child's play. In the memories of the reincarnation martial emperor, there were various ways to destroy such crude and simple inscription arrays. Of course, with Duan Ling Tian's current spiritual energy, he couldn't destroy this inscription array, because although it wasn't constructed by a martial emperor powerhouse, it was constructed by an inscription master at the void transformation stage. With Duan Ling Tian's current spiritual energy, he could only temporarily shut it down, not destroy it. But that's enough. Duan Ling Tian's heart stirred, and the spiritual energy integrated into the inscription array suddenly moved. The next moment, the flames filling a section of the cave passage gradually extinguished, wind and clouds. At the same time, Duan Ling Tian easily passed through the area covered by the inscription array. As Duan Ling Tian withdrew his spiritual energy, the area covered by the inscription array behind him once again erupted with bursts of scorching flames. Duan Ling Tian continued to fly forward at full speed. Soon, he saw the flickering purple lightning ahead, which was an inscription array constructed with elemental stones and lightning intent fragments. This Azure Wolf Fort truly lives up to its name as an external force. It's incredibly extravagant. So far, this passage alone has revealed 3 intent fragments. It's a pity my spiritual energy is limited right now, and I'm in a hurry. Otherwise, I would definitely pry all these intent fragments away. Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy extended out again, merging into the inscription array, which was mainly composed of elemental stones and lightning intent fragments, and temporarily shutting it down. Whoosh. The next moment, Duan Ling Tian passed through the area swept by the purple lightning and continued to fly forward. As Duan Ling Tian withdrew his spiritual energy, he could clearly hear bursts of piercing thunder from behind him. The thunder grew fainter and fainter, quickly disappearing from his ears, after forcefully breaking through the wind area and easily passing through the fire and lightning areas. Duan Ling Tian quickly entered the water area. The water appearing in this inscription array, formed by elemental energy and water intent, was not calm. If it were calm water, Duan Ling Tian could easily swim across even without his current cultivation. But this water was constantly compressing and colliding within a certain area of the passage. Once one entered it, it would be easy to lose control of one's body and be carried along by the current charge. However, none of this was an issue for Duan Ling Tian. His spiritual energy swept out, easily temporarily shutting down the inscription array that created the water. The water quickly disappeared, and Duan Ling Tian also passed through the area covered by the inscription array. It wasn't until Duan Ling Tian withdrew his spiritual energy that the sound of vast colliding water currents reappeared behind him, gradually fading into the distance. Perhaps even the people of Azure Wolf Fort never expected that I could easily shut down the inscription arrays in this illusory palace. The reincarnation martial emperor's attainments in inscription arts, combined with my spiritual energy, are simply an unbeatable cheat code here. The term cheat code originated from Duan Ling Tian's previous life on Earth, commonly used in unfair game operations that broke conventions. Next, it should be the inscription array formed by elemental energy and earth intent, right? Duan Ling Tian looked at the empty passage ahead, secretly guessing, according to common sense, after the 4 natural forces of wind, fire, lightning, and water, it should be earth force, which is also a natural force, just as Duan Ling Tian was about to brace himself for the power of the earth. He strangely noticed an elderly figure suddenly appear in front of him. Upon closer inspection, the figure belonged to Ning Kan, the vice fort master of Kangwolf Fort. Ning Kan stood there, looking at Duan Ling Tian with a benevolent expression, as if he were gazing at a beloved junior. Congratulations. You are the first to complete the first stage of the Illusion Palace selection. Now, you can choose one of 3 rewards. After Duan Ling Tian stopped, Ning Kan smiled and said, First, a grade 3 spirit weapon. Second, swoosh. Before Ning Kan could finish speaking, Duan Ling Tian's expression changed. He then shot forward, passing right through Ning Kan's body, and continued to rush ahead at the same time. Ning Kan's body gradually dissipated, as if he had never appeared. Damn it. I didn't realize at first that it was an illusion created by an inscription formation. Duan Ling Tian, still flying forward, his face slightly darkened at this moment. He dared not delay any longer. He hastily extended his spiritual energy, not forgetting to search every corner of the places he passed as he moved forward. Just now, his mind was entirely focused on the power of the earth, and he hadn't thought about anything else. When Ning Kan appeared before him, it made him momentarily stunned. Ning Kan, by all accounts, shouldn't have appeared here. After all, outside, Ning Kan had clearly explained the rules for the second round of the 10 Dynasty martial arts competition, and there was no mention of distributing rewards midway. So, after Duan Ling Tian paused for a moment, he fully realized that it was an illusion constructed by an inscription formation, designed only to confuse him and delay his time. Forget it. Although some time was wasted, that scene just now would likely trick anyone. I fell for it, and others should be about the same. Duan Ling Tian continuously comforted himself, still believing that he should be able to reach the end of the Illusion Palace first and obtain the number 1 token. After flying forward for a while, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy trembled, causing him to raise an eyebrow and sneer. Another inscription formation. A moment later, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy temporarily shut down the inscription formation he had just discovered. Another inscription formation that can create an illusion. With his spiritual energy integrated into the inscription formation, Duan Ling Tian could immediately discern its specific function. This type of inscription formation would instantly trigger an illusion as soon as someone entered it. But now, by temporarily shutting down the inscription formation with his spiritual energy in advance, Duan Ling Tian didn't need to face the illusion, whatever it might be. This time, I've saved a lot of time. That number 1 token, I'm determined to get it. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath and continued to fly forward at full speed. Subsequently, he preemptively detected several more inscription formations capable of creating illusions, and he temporarily shut them down in advance, saving himself a considerable amount of time. Perhaps my speed isn't as good as those young prodigies above the 3rd level of the Void Prying stage, but in this Illusion Palace, with the help of my spiritual energy, I'm almost unhindered, so they shouldn't be faster than me. Duan Ling Tian's heart stirred, and he thought to himself, now, perhaps only Zishang can pose a threat to me in this second round of selection. After all, within him, a formidable old monster is hidden. Although it's just a wisp of a remnant soul, the old monster's lifetime of experience should not be underestimated. Duan Ling Tian, who possessed the memories of the reincarnated Martial Emperor from 2 lives, naturally knew how vast the experience of a being suspected to be a Martial Emperor was. Moreover, when Zishang navigates this Illusion Palace, he will likely let that old monster control his body. With the old monster's experience, he can probably see through the illusions ahead with ease. Only the natural forces in the earlier sections might slightly impede his progress. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath, feeling immense pressure. Suddenly, as Duan Ling Tian rounded another bend in the passage, a bright light appeared ahead, making his eyes light up. Is that the exit? Without any hesitation, Duan Ling Tian continued forward, but he didn't forget to clear the path with his pervasive spiritual energy. This should be the final stretch. I must not stumble at the last hurdle. Duan Ling Tian took a deep breath, and as he moved rapidly, his spiritual energy meticulously probed the path ahead, Indeed, his spiritual energy successively discovered two inscription formations, one that created an illusion and another that contained the power of the earth. I didn't expect this inscription formation containing the power of the earth to appear here. The exit is here. Asterisk looking at the exit that was almost within reach. A brilliant smile appeared on Duan Ling Tian's face as he approached the exit. What greeted Duan Ling Tian's eyes was a spacious underground palace, which should be the so-called illusion palace. The light was sweeping down from above the palace, clearly indicating the location of the exit. Above should be the arena. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself. Swoosh. Duan Ling Tian, like a flash of lightning, rushed out of the passage entrance and entered the spacious underground palace, steadily halting his figure. When he couldn't help but look back, he found dozens of other passages leading to this place. These passages should be where the other young prodigies are. Where are those numbered tokens? With a thought, Duan Ling Tian's gaze began to search the underground palace, and he finally spotted a stone platform not far to his right. The stone platform was extremely wide, and 50 tokens were neatly arranged on it, each with its own number. Whoosh! Duan Ling Tian moved, appearing before the 50 tokens like a ghost. His eyes immediately fixed on the number 1 token, and he casually picked it up. It seems I am the first to pass through the illusion palace. After putting away the number 1 token, Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed, and he then ascended into the air, reaching the vicinity of the illusion palace's exit. But he did not leave directly. Duan Ling Tian, standing in midair, stared sharply at the other 49 passages. Unbeknownst to him, a hint of killing intent had already appeared on his face. The reason he wasn't in a hurry to take the number 1 token and leave was because he wanted to do something. Something he was eager to do: kill Zishang. Zishang had already formed a grudge with him in the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. And later, when they met in the Grand Han Dynasty, their conflict escalated, clearly reaching a point of no return, especially after learning that a remnant soul, possibly belonging to a martial emperor, might be lurking within Zishang. Duan Ling Tian felt an immense threat emanating from Zishang. He always felt that if Zishang continued to live, he would eventually become a great disaster. With the assistance of that remnant soul, suspected to be a martial emperor, Zishang's future path would undoubtedly be smooth, and he might even have a chance to achieve the status of a martial emperor, or even a martial god. None of this was what he wanted to see. Zishang, this illusion palace will be your grave, Duan Ling Tian murmured. Duan Ling Tian waited in the spacious underground palace, his gaze fixed on the other 49 passages leading to this place. Zishang would emerge from one of them. It's just a pity I don't know which passage Zishang is in. Otherwise, I might consider actively killing my way over. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed as he thought to himself, and outside, not far from Duan Ling Tian at the exit, was the sky above the Kangwol Fort's outer arena. At this moment, besides Ning Kan, who had been there all along, representatives from various dynasties who had previously followed Feng Wei to the entrance of the Illusion Palace had also returned. Feng Wei had returned as well. A group of older generation powerhouses stood in midair, their eyes fixed on the exit of the Illusion Palace, where a white mist enveloped the area, making it impossible to see what lay beneath. Even spiritual energy found it difficult to penetrate, clearly indicating the presence of a special inscription formation there. I wonder who will get the number 1 token, many people said, including the 2 vice fort masters of Kangwol Fort, as well as Sword 13 and Blade 5 from the Saber and Sword sect. A group of older generation powerhouses were all somewhat eager to see who would be the first to emerge from the Illusion Palace. At this moment, they had no idea that a purple-clad youth, who could emerge at any time, was already standing in midair beside the exit of the Illusion Palace, still so slow. Duan Ling Tian, who had waited for dozens of breaths without Zishang appearing, stood in midair near the mist-shrouded exit, unable to help but frown. Finally, Duan Ling Tian noticed movement in one of the passages leading to this place, and a series of swift wind-whistling sounds emanated from it. Swoosh. A figure instantly swept into the underground palace, immediately drawing Duan Ling Tian's gaze. Zishang. gazing at the familiar face with a black flame mark on his brow. A cold sneer appeared at the corner of Duan Ling Tian's mouth, and his gaze tightly locked onto the person he had been waiting for. At this moment, Zishang had already reached the vicinity of the pile of tokens, and upon seeing that one token was missing, his expression involuntarily changed slightly. Where's the number one token? Is there actually someone faster than this old man? An old, hoarse, and sinister voice emanated from Zishang's mouth, filled with disbelief, as if he couldn't believe that someone could pass through the illusion palace before him. Immediately, Duan Ling Tian could tell that the current Zishang was possessed by the soul of the suspected martial emperor, old geezer. Upon hearing Zishang's words, Duan Ling Tian sneered, fully revealing his figure hidden on the side of the exit's mist. At the same time, a stone tablet, a broken one, appeared in his hand. The stone tablet was densely carved with complex, incomprehensible characters, making it unfathomable. No sooner had Duan Ling Tian's sneer faded than Zishang had already turned around, a trace of apprehension flashing through his dull eyes. It's actually you, kid. How could you possibly be faster than me? The old, hoarse voice was filled with disbelief. Nothing is impossible. Duan Ling Tian sneered, raising his hand and swinging the broken stone tablet, smashing it towards Zishang. Whoosh! The broken stone tablet shot through the air, instantly seeming to gain eyes, heading straight for Zishang. An immense pressure enveloped him, causing Zishang's face to change drastically. Kid, you're ruthless. A hoarse, ancient, and sinister voice hastily echoed, then completely vanished. At the same time, the black flame mark on Zishang's glabella disappeared, and his lifeless eyes regained their luster. Just then, the broken stone tablet stopped not far from Zishang, as if it had lost its target. That old guy sure escaped quickly. Duan Ling Tian moved, instantly arriving in front of the broken stone tablet, the demon sealing tablet, and took it into his hand. However, as long as Zishang himself dies, you won't survive either. Duan Ling Tian looked at Zishang's eyes, filled with intense killing intent, and Zishang's eyes, as he looked at Duan Ling Tian, were also filled with killing intent, though mixed with a hint of dread from the depths of his soul. Without old ghost possessing him, he knew that he was no match for Duan Ling Tian at the moment. Duan Ling Tian, you want to kill me? Zishang asked in a deep voice, asking the obvious. Duan Ling Tian sneered, his elemental energy swelling, instantly transforming into gusts of fierce wind that merged into the demon sealing tablet in his hand, emitting waves of terrifying aura. Whoosh! Almost the instant Duan Ling Tian finished speaking, Zishang flew up into the sky, simultaneously roaring, "Vice Fortress Master Foam, save me!" Zishang's voice, imbued with his elemental energy, resonated, making it feel like a thunderclap to the ears. Vice Fortress Master Foam? Duan Ling Tian, holding the demon sealing tablet, was startled at first, then couldn't help but recall that he had seen Lu Yong take Zishang into the inner fortress yesterday. Could it be that Zishang entered the inner fortress to meet Feng Wei, the Vice Fortress Master of Azure Wolf Fortress? Thinking of this, Duan Ling Tian's eyes glinted coldly. Without any hesitation, he flew straight towards Zishang. He wanted to kill Zishang completely before Feng Wei could intervene, to avoid future trouble. Wind-sweeping clouds. Duan Ling Tian was incredibly fast. To avoid exposing the demon sealing tablet in front of Feng Wei, he put it away midway, his eyes flickering with a faint glow. 1,000 illusions. Without any hesitation, Duan Ling Tian's spiritual energy merged into the soul imprint deep within his soul. Unleashing his unique soul skill, an illusionary space appeared out of thin air, sweeping towards Zishang and completely enveloping him, and Zishang, enveloped by the illusionary space, was like a lamb awaiting slaughter before Duan Ling Tian, at his mercy. Die! Duan Ling Tian flew to Zishang's front, raising his hand and chopping down towards Zishang's head. Just as Zishang's head was about to be split open like a watermelon, Duan Ling Tian's expression suddenly changed, because a terrifying aura suddenly burst forth from Zishang and the illusionary space he had constructed with his soul skill. 1,000 illusions instantly shattered, Whoosh. Zishang's figure darted out, easily dodging Duan Ling Tian's downward chop, and stood in the distance, silently staring at Duan Ling Tian. Old guy, it seems you really aren't afraid of death. Seeing the black flame mark reappear on Zishang's glabella, Duan Ling Tian already knew what had happened. It was the remnant soul, suspected to be that of a martial emperor, within Zishang's body, which had possessed Zishang's body just as he was about to be killed. Not only did it possess Zishang's body, but it also shattered his illusionary space constructed by the soul skill Thousand Illusions, and also helped Zishang escape a calamity. Kid, if you want to kill Zishang, you'll have to get past me first. Zishang, temporarily possessed by Old Ghost, said with an evil smile. You're asking for death. Duan Ling Tian's face darkened, and he took out the demon sealing tablet again. The demon sealing tablet seemed to sense something and flew autonomously towards Zishang. Just as the demon sealing tablet was about to strike Zishang, the black flame mark on Zishang's glabella vanished, and the demon sealing tablet stopped in midair. Zishang, this time, I want to see if that old guy can still save you. This time, to prevent the old guy from possessing Zishang's body again to save him, Duan Ling Tian did not put away the demon sealing tablet. Thousand Illusions. Immediately after, a faint glow flickered between Duan Ling Tian's eyes, and he once again unleashed his unique soul skill in an instant. Zishang was once again enveloped by the illusionary space. Die. Duan Ling Tian's eyes grew cold, and he swung the demon sealing tablet towards Zishang's head. He wanted to see if that old guy still dared to come out. If he did, he would make him and Zishang perish together. Humph. Just as the demon sealing tablet in Duan Ling Tian's hand was about to obliterate Zishang, a cold snort entered Duan Ling Tian's ears. Along with it came an invisible, immense force. Boom. A terrifying force swept over, sending Duan Ling Tian flying, shattering the fierce winds swirling around him, and dimming the luster on the demon sealing tablet in his hand. Whoosh. 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 When Duan Ling Tian regained his senses, he saw four figures successively darting in from outside the exit. Feng Wei, Ning Can, Jin Shisan, and Dao Wu. The one who had just attacked was Feng Wei, who had arrived first. Feng Wei, what is the meaning of this? The 10 Dynasty Martial Arts Competition is hosted by your Azure Wolf Fortress. As the Vice Fortress Master of Azure Wolf Fortress, aren't you going too far by violating the rules and interfering with the competition? Jin Shisan had just entered and witnessed Duan Ling Tian being knocked away by Feng Wei. His face instantly darkened, and he said coldly that a surge of towering sword intent suddenly swept around him, and he seemed to transform into a sword, ready to roar out and obliterate Feng Wei at any moment. Feng Wei, locked by Jin Shisan's aura, also looked displeased, but he still said in a deep voice, Jin Shisan, the second round of the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts Competition is for ranking, and there are no rules allowing young talents from different dynasties to kill each other. Sophistry. Jin Shisan's eyes were like swords. He took a step forward, like a giant sword suspended in the air, exerting even greater pressure on Feng Wei. Jin Shisan, this is my Azure Wolf Fortress, not your blade and sword sect. You also said that the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts Competition is hosted by us, so the rules are naturally set by us. Ning Can merely glanced at Jin Shisan, his words clearly showing favoritism. So what if this is your Azure Wolf Fortress? If I, Jin Shisan, want to teach someone a lesson, do I need to find another place? Jin Shisan sneered, and almost as soon as he finished speaking, he moved. Within Duan Ling Tian's line of sight, Jin Shisan vanished from his original spot. Almost at the same time, slap. A crisp slap echoed. Duan Ling Tian's vision blurred, and he saw that Jin Shisan had appeared in front of Feng Wei almost the instant he vanished from his original spot, and he had slapped Feng Wei. A clear handprint appeared on Feng Wei's face, making him seem momentarily dazed, likely not expecting Jin Shisan to dare to strike him, and to slap him in front of so many people. Jin Shisan, you're asking for death. Feng Wei was enraged, utterly enraged. He transformed into a bloodthirsty beast, opening his maw and pouncing towards Jin Shisan. Unfortunately, he couldn't even touch a corner of Jian Shursan's clothes. So fast. Watching Jian Shursan's figure, which sometimes vanished from his spot and sometimes appeared elsewhere, Duan Ling Tian felt a surge of shock in his heart. Feng Wei was completely outmatched in front of Jian Shursan, from beginning to end. Only the natural phenomena triggered by Feng Wei's attacks flickered in the sky, while no such phenomena appeared above Jian Shursan's head. From this, it was clear that each of Jian Shursan's movements was fleeting, not even having time to coalesce into natural phenomena. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Feng Wei's attack speed was fast, yet he couldn't even touch Jian Shursan's clothes. Jian Shursan. Ning Can's face was grim, and he then joined the battle, teaming up with Feng Wei against Jian Shursan. Unfortunately, even with both of them together, they still couldn't touch Jian Shursan. Jian Shursan. You've broken through to that realm. Finally, Ning Can stopped and stood still, no longer wasting energy, and asked, gasping for breath, whoosh. Jian Shursan's vanished figure reappeared before Duan Ling Tian. Immediately after, Duan Ling Tian saw that this time, Jian Shursan no longer dodged. Instead, he casually threw a punch, like a heavy hammer, meeting Feng Wei's iron fist that shot out like a cannonball. Boom! With a loud bang, Jian Shursan remained motionless, while Feng Wei flew out like an arrow from a bow, crashing heavily against the wall of this underground palace. Feng Wei's throat sweetened, and he couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of stale blood. When he looked at Jian Shursan again, his eyes were filled with horror. How could you be so strong? Feng Wei, I truly admire your courage. Even I haven't dared to challenge junior brother Jian since a year ago. You, a mere 7th-level Void Transformation Realm cultivator, dare to be arrogant in front of a 9th-level Void Transformation Realm expert. I must say, your courage is commendable. Dao Wu, who had been standing silently by the side, glanced at Feng Wei disdainfully, seemingly mocking Feng Wei's overestimation of his own abilities. 9th-level Void Transformation Realm. Dao Wu's words made Feng Wei shiver. When he looked at Jian Shursan again, his face showed disbelief. How? How is that possible? How could you, Jian Shursan, break through to that level so quickly? Feng Wei naturally knew what the short 5 words, 9th-level Void Transformation Realm, meant. On the Cloud Continent, below the unfathomable Martial Emperor realm, the highest cultivated martial artist was a 9th-level Void Transformation Realm martial artist. 9th-level Void Transformation Realm. Duan Ling Tian was also stunned when he heard Dao Wu's words. Jian Shursan, Su Li's master, was actually a 9th-level Void Transformation Realm expert? That was a powerful existence, very close to the Martial Emperor realm, Duan Ling Tian, who possessed the memories of 2 lives of the reincarnation Martial Emperor, naturally knew the existence and meaning of 9th-level Void Transformation Realm, knowing that it was the strongest among the Void realms. The Void realms are divided into 4 levels: Prying Void, Entering Void, Insightful Void, and Void Transformation. And 9th-level Void Transformation Realm originates from the 4 Great Void Realms and stands at the very pinnacle of the 4 Great Void Realms. In terms of strength, it is considered the strongest below the Martial Emperor. Seeing Jian Shursan display his cultivation of 9th-level Void Transformation stage, Ning Can and Feng Wei, the 2 deputy fort masters of Kangwolf Fort, both looked wary, as if facing a flood or a fierce beast. Jian Shursan, since you are already a 9th-level Void Transformation stage expert, we both admit we are not your match. However, the rules for the second round of selection for this 10 Dynasty Martial Arts meet were agreed upon early on, solely for ranking by competing for numbered tokens. Ning Can took a deep breath and said frankly, these rules were set by the Fort Master. If you question them, you can come with me to see the Fort Master for confirmation. The Fort Master Ning Can referred to was precisely the supreme leader who commanded the entire Kangwolf Fort. The Kangwolf Fort Master, who was rarely seen. After Ning Can brought up the Kangwolf Fort Master, a hint of apprehension flashed in Jian Shursan's eyes, and he finally let out a cold snort, saying nothing more. Although he wasn't afraid of the 2 deputy fort masters of Kangwolf Fort in front of him, he had to be extremely wary of the Kangwolf Fort Master. The Kangwolf Fort Master had been famous for many years. And even now that Jian Shursan's cultivation had broken through to the 9th level void transformation stage, he still admitted he was no match for him. Little fellow, let's go. Jian Shursan no longer paid attention to Ning, Kan, and Feng Wei, and said to Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian nodded, and as he followed Jian Shursan away, he didn't forget to put away the Devil Seal tablet in his hand, while also glaring fiercely at Zishang, who stood not far away. When Feng Wei arrived in time, he knew that he could no longer kill Zishang. Even if he was unwilling, there was nothing he could do. After all, this was Kangwolf Fort, and Feng Wei was a deputy fort master of Kangwolf Fort. Moreover, the rules for the second round of selection for the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts meet did not explicitly state that killing was allowed. So Feng Wei's intervention was not considered breaking the rules. If I had known this, I wouldn't have put away the Devil Seal tablet when I made my first move just now. Thinking about what had just happened, Duan Ling Tian felt a pang of regret when he first attacked Zishang. Zishang hastily called for help from Feng Wei, and because he was worried that Feng Wei would notice the Devil Seal tablet in his hand, he put it away immediately. At that time, he was eager to kill Zishang, but he temporarily forgot that Zishang still had a remnant soul, suspected to be an Emperor Wu expert, within him, allowing Zishang to escape his soul skill, Thousand Illusions. When he came to his senses, realized his mistake, and took out the Devil Seal tablet again, preparing to blast Zishang to death with it, Feng Wei arrived, forced him back, and saved Zishang. One wrong step leads to many wrong steps. Duan Ling Tian sighed. He had a chance to kill Zishang today, but because of a single thought, Zishang narrowly escaped out of course. Duan Ling Tian also understood that since things had come to this, further thought was useless. In this world, there was no regret medicine to take. What he needed to do now was to make sure he didn't make another mistake when the next opportunity arose, and strive to eliminate Zishang at the first possible moment. As long as Zishang was alive, his heart would not be at ease. Overall, my current strength is still too weak. If I had strength superior to Kangwolf Fort, let alone these 2 deputy fort masters of Kangwolf Fort, Feng Wei and Ning Kan, even if the Kangwolf Fort master himself made a move, I wouldn't be afraid. I could completely eliminate Zishang right in front of him. Duan Ling Tian once again realized that his strength was still too weak. Now, he wasn't comparing himself to the younger generation, but to older generation powerhouses like Feng Wei and Ning Kan's strength. I need powerful strength. Duan Ling Tian constantly roared inwardly, and the Yuan Li within him, as if hearing his silent roar, completely boiled over, transforming into angry dragons that swept through the meridians in his body at the same time. The medicinal power of the Nirvana pill that had accumulated deep in his dantian further integrated into his Yuan Li.at this instant. Duan Ling Tian felt his entire body filled with strength, taking a huge step closer to the 3rd level void prying stage, even reaching a bottleneck. As long as I break through this bottleneck, I can officially enter the 3rd level void prying stage. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed, like 2 dazzling stars twinkling. Before leaving the illusory palace, Duan Ling Tian didn't forget to cast a cold glance at Zishang. One day, he would thoroughly kill Zishang and use the Devil Seal tablet to suppress and kill the remnant soul, suspected to be an Emperor Wu expert. Hidden within him, he wasn't afraid of Zishang himself in the slightest. What he feared was the remnant soul, suspected to be an Emperor Wu expert, hidden within Zishang. That was the greatest threat. Duan Ling Tian, I will make sure you die without a burial place. Just then, Duan Ling Tian heard Zishang's Yuanli condensed voice, full of bloodlust and brutality, as if he wished to tear him into 10,000 pieces and grind his bones to dust. Then we'll see who dies first. Duan Ling Tian's lips curled into a sneer as he responded indifferently to Zishang, then followed behind Jian Shursan and Dao Wu, passing through the mist at the exit of the illusory palace and returning to the arena in the outer fort of Kangwolf Fort. As soon as he emerged, Duan Ling Tian noticed numerous intense gazes fixed on him. These gazes contained admiration, disbelief, and incredulity. Multiple emotions indicated the mood of the representatives from the various dynasties above the arena at that moment. It's actually him. How could it be him? He's only 28 years old. 28 years old, and the first to emerge from the illusory palace? Although I also find it incredible, the facts prove that he is indeed the first one out. That number 1 token, more than likely, is in his hands. He must have used some special method, a shortcut. Otherwise, he couldn't have come out of the illusory palace so quickly. At 28 at most, he would only be at the first level void prying stage, or perhaps even haven't broken through to the void prying stage yet. Aside from the representatives of the Grand Han Dynasty and the Grand Ming Dynasty, the representatives of the other 8 dynasties discussed animatedly, each with expressions of doubt. Clearly, none of them believed that Duan Tian had the strength to be the first to pass through the illusory palace. Duan Tian actually came out first. The Grand Han Dynasty Emperor's eyes lit up, and he hurriedly transmitted his Yuan condensed voice into Duan Tian's ear. Duan Tian, congratulations on being the first to pass through the illusory palace. Did you get that number 1 token? Duan Tian heard the voice, looked up at the Grand Han Dynasty Emperor, and nodded faintly. Huh? Good. The Grand Han Dynasty Emperor laughed, a brilliant smile on his face, at the same time. The look in his eyes towards the representatives of the other 9 dynasties also changed, filled with triumph, as if to say, see? This is a young powerhouse from our Grand Han Dynasty. By Nanin, Zishang's master, looked at Duan Tian with complicated eyes, and couldn't help but feel a cold sweat for Zishang. He was perfectly clear about the conflict between Duan Tian and his disciple Zishang. It was an irreconcilable life-and-death feud. No wonder even Wei Yi lost to him. This Duan Tian is indeed extraordinary. The representative of the Grand Ming Dynasty, an expert from the Zhao family of the Grand Ming Dynasty named Elder Qian, looked at Duan Tian with a gaze full of shock. Duan Tian was no stranger to him. In fact, several months ago, when he was still in the capital of the Grand Ming Dynasty, he had heard of such a young man who could easily defeat the strongest of the contemporary young generation of their Zhao family. When he first met this young man at the Zhao family's Kangwolf Fort, he felt a shock from deep within his heart. He had never expected this person to be so young. I originally thought that the first to pass through the illusory palace would be His Royal Highness the Crown Prince. I didn't expect it to be this Duan Tian. Elder Qian sighed inwardly after leaving the illusory palace. Duan Tian, who became the focus of everyone's attention, stood quietly in midair with Jian Shisan and Dao Wu. You passed through the illusory palace and obtained the number 1 token a long time ago? Jian Shisan looked at Duan Tian and asked. Duan Tian nodded. In that case, the reason you didn't come out immediately was that you were waiting for Zishang? How long did you wait for him? Dao Wu's pupils contracted, and he asked in surprise. I waited for about 50 or 60 breaths of time. Duan Tian said 50 or 60 breaths. Hearing Duan Tian's words, Jian Shisan and Dao Wu couldn't help but exchange glances, both seeing a look of shock in each other's eyes in their hearts. Only one thought remained. Monster. This Duan Tian was simply a monster. Junior brother Jian. This little fellow, no matter what, we must bring him into our blade and sword sect. Dao Wu looked at Jian Shisan and said with a serious expression. Although he and Jian Shisan usually didn't get along well, and even in many aspects he didn't respect Jian Shisan, that was only their private matter. Once it concerned the blade and sword sect, he stood with Jian Shisan in the same camp, united against outsiders. I understand. Jian Shisan nodded. Duan Tian was naturally unaware of the Yuan Li condensed conversation between Jian Shisan and Dao Wu. At this moment, he was holding a fragment of Wind's profundity and quietly comprehending the Wind's profundity. Not only that, he also closed his eyes, sat cross-legged in the air, and cultivated earnestly. 9 Dragon War Sovereign Technique, Sword Dragon Transformation. The Yuan Li within Duan Tian, as he began to cultivate, became agitated again, constantly circulating according to the Sword Dragon Transformation mental cultivation method. and then impacting the bottleneck leading to the third-level void prying stage. As long as I break through the bottleneck, I can successfully break through to the third-level void prying stage. After what had just happened, Duan Ling Tian was filled with a craving for powerful strength, eager to raise his cultivation as quickly as possible. Deputy Fort Master Ning is out. At the same time, someone shouted, causing the gazes of the various dynasty representatives above the arena to shift to the exit of the illusory palace. Although these people were puzzled by the actions of Feng Wei, Ning Can, Jin Shisan, and Dao Wu, who had successively entered the exit of the illusory palace just now. They didn't know what had happened. Zishang's cry for help inside, though loud, had been filtered by the inscription formation at the exit of the illusory palace by 7 or 8 tenths, becoming like a mosquito's buzz. At that time, only Feng Wei, Ning Can, Jin Shisan, and Dao Wu outside could hear it clearly. Asterisk, Vice Fortress Master Feng. Soon, the representatives of the various dynasties saw Ning Can, the Vice Fortress Master of Kangwol Fortress, emerge, followed by Feng Wei, another Vice Fortress Master of Kangwol Fortress. Not only that, but behind Feng Wei, there was an additional person. It's him. He also seems to be a young talent from the Dahan dynasty. Heavens! The first 2 people to emerge from the second round of the 10 Dynasty Martial Arts competition are both from the Dahan dynasty. Immediately, the representatives of the other 9 dynasties erupted in a frenzy, their eyes fixed on Zishang, as if trying to discern something from him. Good. The emperor of the Dahan dynasty burst into hearty laughter, his voice filled with delight. He had never expected Zishang to be the second person to emerge from the illusionary palace after Duan Ling Tian. Although Zishang had no blood relation to their Dahan dynasty royal family, he was the personal disciple of his imperial uncle, by Nanyin. Most importantly, Zishang was representing the Dahan dynasty in this 10 Dynasty Martial Arts competition. By Nanyin's eyes gleamed, and his body trembled slightly with excitement. He had never imagined that his disciple would be the second to walk out of the illusionary palace after Zishang emerged. He noticed the gazes converging on him, and a hint of smugness appeared on his face. However, when his gaze fell upon the purple-clad youth cultivating cross-legged in the distant void, his pupils suddenly constricted, and a cold light flickered within them. Duan Ling Tian. Gazing at Duan Ling Tian from afar, Zishang gnashed his teeth slightly. Although receiving the number 2 token made Zishang quite happy, the thought that Duan Ling Tian had received the number 1 token made him feel extremely displeased. He would rather be surpassed by anyone else than by Duan Ling Tian. Being surpassed by Duan Ling Tian was, to him, a humiliation difficult to wash away. Zishang, did you get the number 2 token? The emperor of the Dahan dynasty and Zishang's master, by Nanyin, almost simultaneously asked Zishang with their cultivation energy condensed into sound. Zishang flew out, and, after a moment, arrived beside the 2, nodding slightly. Seeing this, both men immediately beamed with joy. Imperial uncle, you have indeed taken in a good disciple, the emperor of the Dahan dynasty said with a smile, looking at Bai Nanyin. Bai Nanyin chuckled heartily, his eyes completely narrowed with happiness. What more could he ask for in this life than to have such a personal disciple? Zishang, I have decided to confer your father the title of king of a different surname of my Dahan dynasty, and move your Z family to our imperial capital. What do you think? The emperor of the Dahan dynasty said to Zishang. Thank you, your majesty. Zishang nodded indifferently, unperturbed. I hope that when your strength reaches the heavens in the future, you will not forget my Dahan dynasty, the emperor said with a smile. Zishang nodded again. Suddenly, Zishang, Ning Can, who had been the first to ascend into the sky, fixed his gaze on Zishang and smiled kindly. Are you willing to take me as your master and become my personal disciple? After his unsuccessful attempt to take a disciple yesterday, Ning Can once again actively offered to take a disciple. This time, the target was still a young talent from the Dahan dynasty, but it was no longer Duan Ling Tian, but Zishang. Whoosh. Ning Can's renewed offer to take a disciple immediately attracted the attention of all the representatives from the 10 dynasties present. With most of them looking at Zishang with envy, they knew that because Zishang was the second to emerge from the illusionary palace, he had gained Ning Can's full regard. He won't be like Duan Ling Tian, directly refusing Vice Fortress Master Ning. Will he? Probably not. He and Duan Ling Tian are both young talents from the Dahan dynasty. They wouldn't really make the same decision as Duan Ling Tian, would they? Many dynasty representatives discussed amongst themselves. Zishang quickly agree. After hearing Ning Can's words, the emperor of the Dahan dynasty and Bai Nan Yin's eyes both lit up, and they hurriedly urged Zishang. They were also worried that Zishang might act impulsively and, like Duan Ling Tian, refuse Vice Fortress Master Ning. In their opinion, this was a great opportunity for the Dahan dynasty to forge a connection with Kangwol Fortress, and perhaps even gain the protection of Kangwol Fortress as a result. When one man achieves the Tao, even his chickens and dogs ascend to heaven. This was precisely it. I agree. Zishang flew out and immediately knelt before Ning Can, kowtowing in apprenticeship, appearing respectful and humble. Although Zishang had a remnant soul, suspected to be that of a martial emperor, within him, he did not possess the same arrogance as Duan Ling Tian. To him, he would not let go of anything that had utilitarian value. As for taking a master, to him, it was merely a formality. Even if Ning Can became his master, should a conflict of interest arise between them in the future, he would not hold back because Ning Can was his master. He would only try every means to eliminate Ning Can at the first opportunity. To him, a master was merely a stepping stone, an insignificant stepping stone on his path to the future. Of course, Ning Can was unaware of Zishang's thoughts. Otherwise, he would likely be so enraged that he would strike Zishang dead with a single palm. Good. Ning Can laughed heartily, then asked, "What concept have you comprehended?" When Ning Can asked this, all the representatives from the various dynasties present knew what he was going to do next, and their eyes showed envy as they looked at Zishang. This included the emperor of the Dahan dynasty and Bai Nan Yin. They knew that Ning Can intended to bestow soul fragments upon Zishang. Reporting to Master, "I have comprehended both the wind and fire concepts." Zishang's eyes shone brightly, and his breathing became a little hurried. Although he had a remnant soul of a powerful expert hidden within him, however, that expert, apart from teaching him cultivation and imparting some techniques for quickly comprehending concepts, could not give him any tangible items, things like high-grade spirit weapons, spirit medicines, and those concept fragments. The other party could not provide him with any of them. In Zishang's view, as long as he obtained concept fragments, coupled with the techniques for comprehending concepts taught to him by Old Ghost, his concept improvement would surely advance by leaps and bounds. I happen to have an 8th level fire concept fragment in my possession, which I will give to you, and also this 6th level wind concept fragment. Ning Can raised his hand, and 2 fragments, one red and one green, flew out, reaching Zishang's hands in an instant. 8th level fire concept fragment. Zishang's eyes lit up. He hadn't expected the 8th level fire concept fragment he heard about from Lu Yong yesterday, which belonged to Ning Can, to fall into his hands so easily. Moreover, there was also a 6th level wind concept fragment. At this moment, including the representatives of the Dahan dynasty, the representatives of the other 9 dynasties were all astonished. 8th level fire concept fragment? 6th level wind concept fragment? Vice Fortress Master Ning is truly generous. What Lu Yong of the Daming dynasty received yesterday, compared to what Zishang received, is like heaven and earth, a world of difference. The representatives of the various dynasties exclaimed in admiration. Soon, they all shut their mouths, as they noticed Feng Wei's sharp gaze sweeping over them one by one. Only then did they remember that their words implicitly suggested that Vice Fortress Master Feng was stingy, and they immediately fell silent, not daring to say more. Junior brother Zishang, from now on, we are fellow disciples. Feng Wei looked at Zishang and greeted him with a smile. Senior brother Feng Wei. Zishang returned a smile, and at the same time, he glanced triumphantly at Duan Ling Tian, who was sitting cross-legged in the air in the distance, as if showing off his noble status. Unfortunately, Duan Ling Tian was cultivating and didn't even open his eyes to look at him. not even for a glance. Congratulations, Vice Fortress Master Ning, on gaining an excellent disciple. Congratulations, Vice Fortress Master Ning. Immediately, the group of people above the arena, with the exception of Jin 13, Dao 5, Fengwu Dao, and Duan Ling Tian, who was cultivating cross-legged, all congratulated Ning. Ning Can's face was filled with smiles, and his gaze quickly fell upon the emperor of the Dahan dynasty. My master disciple on fun with Zishang, in the final analysis, is all thanks to your Dahan dynasty. These 3 soul fragments are my token of gratitude. As soon as Ning Can finished speaking, 3 concept fragments appeared in his hand, and he threw them towards the emperor of the Dahan dynasty. Thank you, Vice Fortress Master Ning. The emperor of the Dahan dynasty reached out and took the 3 concept fragments, overjoyed, while contentedly basking in the envious, jealous, and hateful gazes around him. Whoosh! Suddenly, an abrupt gust of strong wind swept through, causing the robes of the people above the arena to flap loudly, making many turn their heads. Where did this wind come from? This gust of wind came mysteriously, and many looked in the direction from which it blew. There, a purple-clad youth sat cross-legged, his body completely enveloped by substantial wind concept, second-level mid-grade wind concept. The celestial phenomenon above the void caused many to exclaim in a low voice, "At this moment." Above the purple-clad youth's head in the void, 30 ancient horned dragon phantoms coiled downwards, lifelike. Duan Ling Tian. Zishang also looked over, gnashing his teeth in resentment. The purple-clad youth was precisely Duan Ling Tian, who had just comprehended the second-level mid-grade wind concept. As the materialized wind concept around his body dissipated, Duan Ling Tian showed no sign of waking up, continuing to sit cross-legged in the air with his eyes closed, cultivating. Good lad. Fengwu Dao's eyes lit up. He knew about Duan Ling Tian's progress in the wind concept. However, he had never expected Duan Ling Tian to make another breakthrough in such a short period of time. At only 28 years old, comprehending this second-level void transformation concept, Duan Ling Tian's comprehension is monstrous. A representative from an unknown dynasty's side. His words gained the approval of many. Humph. Ning Can snorted a sound that only he could hear, his cold, knife-like gaze sweeping over Duan Ling Tian, that if not for fear of his identity being exposed, and if not for his apprehension of Jin 13, he would have loved to act directly and hack this boy, who had made him lose so much face yesterday, into 1,000 pieces. Duan Ling Tian. Even if you manage to survive this 10 Dynasty martial arts competition by luck, you won't be able to jump around for much longer after the competition ends. Zishang's eyes gleamed with a sinister light. Once you survive the 10 Dynasty martial arts competition, I will inform my master about the demon sealing tablet. Asterisk just comprehended the second-level void prying concept. Jin Shisan and Dao Wu were greatly shocked when they learned from Fengwu Dao that Duan Ling Tian had just comprehended the second-level mid-grade wind concept. They saw Duan Ling Tian emerge first from the illusory palace and had thought that his strength was among the best of the young talents from various dynasties participating in the 10 Dynasty martial arts meeting. Who would have thought that Duan Ling Tian had only just comprehended the second-level void prying concept? Moreover, Jin Shisan learned from Su Li that Duan Ling Tian was currently only a void prying stage 2 martial artist. That is to say, Duan Ling Tian, with his void prying stage 2 cultivation and a first-level void prying concept, was the first to emerge from the illusory palace. For a moment, he felt incredibly shocked. It seems, as Su Li said, Duan Ling Tian truly cannot be judged by ordinary standards. Jin Shisan thought to himself at the same time. His gaze towards Duan Ling Tian became even more brilliant and sparkling. This was a monstrous genius, an unparalleled monstrous genius. Duan Ling Tian, who had become the center of attention, was still cultivating with his eyes closed, completely unaware of everything happening outside. Currently, besides comprehending the wind concept with the wind concept fragment in hand, he was also continuously cultivating the 7th transformation of the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique. the sword dragon transformation, inside his body. The origin energy surged like crashing waves, impacting repeatedly, attempting to break through the final bottleneck of the void prying stage 2. As long as he broke through this bottleneck, his cultivation would advance further, successfully breaking through to void prying stage 3. Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind howled from the exit of the illusory palace, causing everyone except Duan Ling Tian to look over. There, a young man in black was rising into the air, his chiseled face clearly showing a hint of disbelief. After emerging, his thick eyebrows twitched, and a sharp gaze swept out, completely ignoring the burning gazes from above the arena, and began to scan the people in the air above the arena. Finally, he locked onto Zishang and Duan Ling Tian. Tokens number 1 and 2 were taken by them. The young man in black muttered to himself, "This great Han dynasty truly has hidden talents." Under everyone's watchful eyes, the young man in black rose into the air and quickly arrived before an old man and an old woman. The old man and old woman were beaming with joy. "It's someone from the great Qi dynasty. I remember this person. He is the 9th prince, Qi Feng, of the great Qi dynasty's imperial family. However, although he is famous in the great Qi dynasty, he is not as prominent as some others. How could he be the first to emerge from the illusory palace this time?" Some people who recognized the young man in black couldn't help but whisper. The young man in black, nearing middle age, had thick eyebrows and large eyes, and his chiseled face was striking, giving people a feeling of unyielding determination, especially his pair of sharp eyes, which left a deep impression. The two vice fort masters of Canglong Fort merely glanced at Qi Feng and then withdrew their gaze. Qi Feng, being the third to exit the illusory palace, undoubtedly possessed astonishing strength and methods. However, given his age, they were not particularly surprised by such an achievement. In Canglong Fort, there were many disciples of Qi Feng's age who possessed a void prying stage for cultivation. As for Jian Shisan and Dao Wu, only Dao Wu glanced at Qi Feng when he first emerged. Thereafter, he no longer paid attention to Qi Feng, his thoughts being similar to Ning Can and Feng Weit. Such an age, even having a void prying stage for cultivation was not surprising. Duan Ling Tian. Qi Feng's gaze fell upon the purple figure sitting cross-legged in the distant sky, and his lips moved slightly. How interesting. At only 28 years old, he was the first to emerge from the illusory palace, and the number 1 token should be in his hands. I'm really looking forward to a battle with him in the future. I want to see if he reached this point by luck or by strength. Qi Feng's eyes were filled with intense fighting spirit. Seeing that Qi Feng only glanced at him when he came out, and then his gaze was entirely on Duan Ling Tian, completely ignoring him. Zishang immediately let out a dissatisfied snort, hearing the sound. Qi Feng merely glanced at Zishang, then withdrew his gaze, standing in the air before the old man and old woman, closing his eyes to rest. 5 breaths later, whoosh, another figure rose into the air from the illusory palace, successfully attracting the attention of representatives from various dynasties. This was a young man in red, with a stern face, who remained composed and calm despite the burning gazes falling from the sky, and steadily took his place beside a middle-aged man and an old man. It's someone from the great Qin dynasty. This person is named Qin Kong, and he is widely rumored to be the strongest young expert of the current generation in the great Qin dynasty. It is said that Qin Kong had already entered void prying stage 2, 3, or 4 years ago, and now he is at least void prying stage 3, or even void prying stage 4. The great Qin dynasty is one of our 10 dynasties with the longest history, possessing an astonishing foundation. Representatives from various dynasties discussed animatedly. Qin Kong appeared to be of a similar age to Qi Feng, both nearing middle age, so he didn't attract much attention from Jian Shisan, Dao Wu, Ning Can, and Feng Wei. After Qin Kong stood still in the air, he expressionlessly glanced at Duan Ling Tian and Zishang, seemingly calm, but any discerning person could tell at a glance that there was an undercurrent of unrest deep within Qin Kong's gaze. Qi Feng. Qin Kong suddenly looked at Qi Feng of the great Qi dynasty, the young expert who had emerged from the illusory palace before him. I lost to you last time, but this time, I will definitely avenge that shame. Whoosh! As soon as Qin Kong uttered these words, the scene erupted in an uproar. Asterisk, it turned out that Qin Kong had once lost to Qi Feng. Qi Feng met Qin Kong's gaze without fear, smiling faintly. You probably won't have a chance. You came out a full 5 breaths later than me. 5 breaths of time, neither long nor short. But it also indicated that the gap between Qin Kong and him was not so easily closed. Humph. Hearing Qi Feng's words, Qin Kong scoffed. The ranking order in the second round of selection for this 10 Dynasty martial arts meeting is only a temporary ranking. It doesn't count for much. Unless you admit that your strength is far inferior to those two from the Great Han Dynasty. I heard that one of those two from the Great Han Dynasty came out a full 15 breaths earlier than you, and the other also came out 10 breaths earlier than you. Qin Kong said confidently. Qi Feng choked, momentarily at a loss for words that Tio admit that he was weaker than Duan Ling Tian and Zi Shang of the Great Han Dynasty. He naturally would not be willing. Not to mention Duan Ling Tian was more than 10 years younger than him. Even Zi Shang was 6 or 7 years younger. Tio admit that two youths so much younger than himself were stronger than him was not impossible, unless the other party could defeat him in a direct confrontation. Otherwise, he would never admit it. It seems you, like me, are quite dissatisfied with the results of the second round of selection for this 10 Dynasty martial arts meeting. Qin Kong snorted, then stopped speaking, standing there with a stern face. But his gaze never left the purple figure in the distance. Although he was unwilling to admit that this purple-clad young man who obtained the number 1 token was stronger than him. Since the other party was able to pass through the illusory palace first, he undoubtedly had something extraordinary about him. I'm really looking forward to fighting you, Qin Kong muttered. Among the current generation of young people in the Great Qin Dynasty, he had almost no opponents. Coming to Canglong Fort in the Great Desert Ancient City to participate in the 10 Dynasty martial arts meeting. Besides striving for the interests of the Great Qin Dynasty, he mostly wanted to compete with the most outstanding young talents of the other 9 dynasties, as it currently seemed. There were indeed a few people who made his blood boil and his fighting spirit rise. Whoosh. Not long after, the mist at the exit of the illusory palace rippled again. The representatives of various dynasties, having gained experience, all looked towards the exit, knowing that someone would soon emerge from within. Will it be Vice Fort Master Feng's personal disciple, Liu Yong? Liu Yong, the crown prince of the Great Ming Dynasty, is around 35 years old, with a cultivation of Void Prying Stage 3. With the resources of Canglong Fort, reaching Void Prying Stage 5 before 40 should be no problem. However, he is currently only at Void Prying Stage 3, and compared to the group of young talents from various dynasties who are nearing middle age, he is still at a significant disadvantage in terms of age. Many people discussed animatedly. Not only were the representatives of various dynasties curious about who would emerge, but even Canglong Fort's Vice Fort Master Feng Wei was equally curious. Feng Wei's gaze was fixed on the exit, wanting to see clearly who emerged from it at the first possible moment that in his heart. He naturally hoped that it would be his personal disciple, Liu Yong. That way, it would also bring him honor. Unfortunately, his hopeful expression quickly solidified, because the person who rose into the air from the exit of the illusory palace was not Liu Yong. Damn it, I finally came out. The sturdy young man, who looked a bit simple and rough as he rose into the air, cursed loudly twice as soon as he emerged. I'm a genius. An absolute genius. How could anyone walk out of the illusory palace before me? Cheating. They must have cheated. After cursing a few times, the sturdy young man's gaze swept over Duan Ling Tian, Zi Shang, Qi Feng, and Qin Kong, saying brazenly, for a moment, all the representatives of the 9 dynasties, except for a sturdy old man standing awkwardly in the air, were speechless. Where did this eccentric come from? Old man, I'm out. The sturdy young man, as if no one else was present, went up to the sturdy old man, still boisterous and unrestrained in front of his elder. Humph. You're the 5th one out. What are you so proud of? The sturdy old man reprimanded with a stern face. It's someone from the Great Yuan Dynasty. They say the Great Yuan Dynasty is full of strong men, and seeing it today, it's true. Many people recognize the origins of the sturdy old man and the sturdy young man. Hey, Vice Fort Master Ning, Vice Fort Master Feng, I report that these four cheated. How could anyone be more of a genius than me? TMU? This is impossible. Under a series of stunned gazes, the sturdy young man, as if no one else was present, brazenly spoke to Ning Can and Feng Wei. Asterisk, how dare you? Faced with Timu's rudeness, Ning Can's expression darkened, and his aura surged forth, sweeping towards Tiamu, making Timu's face turn incredibly ugly. Vice Fortress Master Ning, please spare him. Tiamu meant no harm. He just has a sharp tongue. The representative of the great Yuan dynasty, the burly old man, hurriedly pleaded for Tiamu. Hearing the burly old man's words, Ning Can's expression softened slightly, and he retracted his aura, giving Tiamu a faint glance. Remember this well. You are not qualified to question Azure Wolf Fortress. Questioning the four people who came out earlier for cheating was undoubtedly questioning the fairness of Azure Wolf Fortress, as the Vice Fortress, Master of Azure Wolf Fortress, and the host of this 10 Dynasty martial arts competition. Ninkin naturally couldn't stand by and watch someone question their Azure Wolf Fortress. Otherwise, where would the prestige of Azure Wolf Fortress be? Where would the face of Azure Wolf Fortress be? If there's no cheating, there's no cheating. Why be so fierce? Be careful. The angrier you get, the faster you die. Under the pressure of Ning Can's aura, Tiamu didn't dare to be as presumptuous as before, but he still couldn't help but mutter to himself. Although his voice wasn't loud, everyone present had excellent hearing. They naturally heard it clearly. Immediately, everyone was speechless. This young man from the great Yuan dynasty was too bold, wasn't he? You're asking for death. Ning Can's expression changed, and he raised his hand, preparing to punish Tiamu. Vice Fortress Master Ning, please spare him. The burly old man from the great Yuan dynasty hurriedly pleaded, while simultaneously raising his hand and giving Tiamu a slap on the back of his head, sternly rebuking. You brat, why aren't you apologizing to Vice Fortress Master Ning? Seeing this, Ning Can, mindful of his status, temporarily lowered his raised hand, waiting for Tiamu's apology. Why apologize? What I said wasn't wrong, Tiamu said with a serious expression, which made the burly old man's face turn completely dark, and Ning Can's expression became even more unpleasant. It seems that if I don't punish you today, you truly won't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Ning Can's gaze turned cold. He raised his hand again. Origin energy surged, and a casual palm strike descended, a palm print whistling out, pressing down on Tiamu like Mount Tai. Immediately, the burly old man standing beside Tiamu's face changed drastically. Although Ninkin held back significantly with his strike, this palm was not something he could withstand. Boom. It wasn't until a saber light whistled past, shattering the palm print, that the burly old man breathed a sigh of relief, hurriedly looking into the distance and expressing his gratitude. Thank you, sir. Dao Wu. Just as most people's gazes fell on the person who had acted, Ninkin also looked at the person, his face gloomy. What do you mean by this? What does it have to do with you if I teach a lesson to a junior who doesn't know his place? The person who acted was none other than Dao Wu, who stood beside Jin Shursan. Whether it was Ninkin's move or Dao Wu's move, both were fleeting, and the heavenly phenomena above the void didn't have time to fully condense. Moreover, they clearly acted casually and didn't exert their full strength, so even if heavenly phenomena appeared, they couldn't represent their true strength. But according to those present, both were at least at the void transformation stage 7 or above. Ning Can, you are, after all, the Vice Fortress Master of Azure Wolf Fortress. To bicker with a junior who speaks without restraint, such an action is a bit beneath your status, isn't it? Dao Wu met Ning Can's gaze calmly and said frankly. Ning Can was instantly choked, speechless. Yes, that he was the Vice Fortress Master of Azure Wolf Fortress, and the other party was merely a junior from a remote small dynasty. It was inappropriate for him to act against the latter, both emotionally and logically. Master. Just then, Zishang stepped forward, his gaze sharply fixed on Tiamu, and he said frankly, this person questioned our Azure Wolf Fortress and spoke disrespectfully to you, Master. Your status, master, is noble, making it unsuitable for you to act. In the upcoming 10 Dynasty martial arts competition, I shall take the liberty of teaching him a good lesson. Haha, good. Ning Can, who was originally in a difficult position and didn't know how to back down, burst into hearty laughter after hearing Zishang's words, feeling that he hadn't taken this direct disciple in vain. Why aren't you thanking that lord? The representative of the great Yuan dynasty, the burly old man, glared at Tmu.at this moment. Tmu, whose face was pale from Ning Can's palm strike, hurriedly looked at Dao Wu. Thank you, senior, for saving my life. Tmu will definitely repay this kindness in the future. There's no need for repayment. Dao Wu nodded with a smile. You brat, I like your temper. Tmu grinned, then seemed to remember something and looked at Zishang, his playful eyes suddenly turning sharp. If you want to teach me, Tmu, a lesson, then you'll have to see if you have the ability. I will show you. Zishang glanced at Tmu disdainfully and said proudly. Whoosh. Soon, the sixth person also emerged. The sixth person to emerge was none other than His Royal Highness, the Crown Prince of the Great Ming Dynasty and Feng Wei's direct disciple, Lu Yong. Master, your disciple is useless. I have shamed you. After Lu Yong emerged, he glanced at Feng Wei, then lowered his head. His goal was originally the top 3 numbered tokens, but who would have thought that when he finally struggled through the illusory palace and was about to choose a numbered token, he found that not only were the top 3 numbered tokens gone, but the top 5 were also gone. He only managed to get the number 6 token. Do better in the future. Feng Wei said indifferently, having no intention of faulting Lu Yong. Yes. Lu Yong breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Whoosh. Just as Lu Yong returned to the side of the great Ming Dynasty's representative, another figure ascended from the illusory palace, appearing before everyone. This was a fiery red figure, and as soon as she appeared, she successfully attracted everyone's attention because she was simply too dazzling. It's her. Many people couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Tian Wu. Duan Ling Tian, who had been sitting cross-legged in the air cultivating, had already opened his eyes when Lu Yong emerged and stopped cultivating. After roughly understanding what had happened during his cultivation from Feng Wu Dao, he saw a familiar figure emerge from the exit of the illusory palace after Lu Yong. The person who came out was actually Feng Tian Wu. Duan Ling Tian couldn't help but be moved. Tian Wu, the 6th person to walk out of the illusory palace? How did she do it? At this moment, not only was Duan Ling Tian moved, but even Feng Wu Dao, Jin Shisan, and Dao Wu were also moved. The 2 vice fortress masters of Azure Wolf Fortress were completely dumbfounded. They were not unfamiliar with this red-clad woman, whose beauty could be described as captivating. She was one of the 10 young talents from the Great Han Dynasty participating in this 10 Dynasty martial arts competition. She was also the youngest among the 100 young talents participating in the 10 Dynasty martial arts competition. She appeared to be in her early 20s, but her true age was only 25. At 25, after Lu Yong, a void-prying stage 3 martial artist, she was the 7th to pass through the illusory palace. Another person from the Great Han Dynasty. These people from the Great Han Dynasty wouldn't happen to know some shortcut, would they? Otherwise, how could they pass through the illusory palace so quickly? She's only 25. Could she be a void-prying stage 3 martial artist? Feng Tian Wu successfully attracted everyone's attention, becoming the focal point of the crowd. This woman in red, with her exquisite beauty, like a fire spirit, gave everyone present a tremendous shock, facing the burning gazes. Feng Tian Wu's pretty face was filled with calmness, until she looked at Duan Ling Tian and Feng Wu Dao standing together in the distance. Then a captivating smile bloomed. One smile topple a city. A second smile topple a nation. It was nothing less than that. Whoosh. Under the gaze of numerous fervent eyes, Feng Tian Wu flew out, and in a moment, she arrived beside Duan Ling Tian and Feng Wu Dao, brother Duan. Father, 2 seniors. Immediately after, Feng Tian Wu greeted the stunned Jin Shisan and Dao Wu. Jin Shisan and Dao Wu reacted, looking at Feng Wu Dao in unison, and sighed. Elder Wu Dao, you truly have a good daughter. Feng Wu Dao heard this, and a look of pride appeared between his brows. What a beautiful woman! Among the 6 young talents who emerged before Feng Tianwu, besides Duan Ling Tian, Zishang, and Tianmu, Qi Feng, Qin Kong, and Lu Yong all stared at Feng Tianwu with fervent eyes, wishing they could claim her for themselves. Unfortunately, their desires were destined to be in vain. Feng Tianwu's heart belonged solely to Duan Ling Tian. If fate allowed, she wished to spend her life with Duan Ling Tian, growing old together. If not, she would rather live out her days in solitude, alone until her final breath. The 2 vice fortress masters of Azure Wolf Fortress gazed at Feng Tianwu from afar, their expressions subtly darkening. They knew in their hearts that since this woman was with Duan Ling Tian, it was absolutely impossible for her to join their Azure Wolf Fortress. If she couldn't be used by them, then she must be eliminated. The 2 exchanged glances, clearly seeing an uncontrollable killing intent in each other's eyes. Wooer, how did you come out so quickly? Feng Wu Dao asked in surprise. He felt he was understanding his daughter less and less now. Tian Wu, congratulations. Meanwhile, Duan Ling Tian, after extending his spiritual energy, was momentarily stunned, then, regaining his composure, he congratulated Feng Tianwu. When Duan Ling Tian said this, not only was Feng Wu Dao puzzled, but even Jian Shisan and Dao Wu beside him were momentarily stunned. They didn't understand the meaning of Duan Ling Tian's words. Did Duan Ling Tian see something? Brother Duan Yu, you saw it. Feng Tianwu looked at Duan Ling Tian in surprise. Duan Ling Tian smiled and nodded. I really didn't expect that you would break through again so soon after just reaching the void prying stage. Did you have some kind of fortuitous encounter in that illusory palace? Just now, when Duan Ling Tian extended his spiritual energy, he immediately detected Feng Tianwu's current cultivation, which was void prying stage 2.1. Must know that it had been less than a month since Feng Tianwu last broke through to void prying stage 1. In other words, after breaking through to void prying stage 1, Feng Tianwu broke through to void prying stage 2 in less than a month. Such progress was even faster than his, who had consumed a nirvana pill. Because of this, Duan Ling Tian guessed that Tianwu must have had some fortuitous encounter in the illusory palace. What? Who are you? You've broken through to the void prying stage, 2nd level? As Duan Ling Tian's words fell, before Feng Tianwu could reply, Feng Wu Dao had already exclaimed in surprise that he knew exactly when his daughter had broken through to the void prying stage, 1st level. But now, hearing Duan Ling Tian's words and seeing his daughter's reaction, he realized a problem. His daughter might really have broken through to the void prying stage, 2nd level. Feng Tianwu's response completely petrified Feng Wu Dao. After a long while, he came back to his senses and murmured, what exactly did you encounter in the illusory palace? Is it really as little Tian said, that you had some fortuitous encounter? Otherwise, how could you have broken through 2 levels in just 1 month? Void prying stage, 2nd level? Breaking through 2 levels in just 1 month? The speaker had no intention, but the listeners took it to heart. Feng Wu Dao's words startled Jian Shisan and Dao Wu, causing their gazes towards Feng Tianwu to change completely. This 25-year-old girl, in just 1 month, had advanced 2 levels in cultivation and entered the void prying stage, 2nd level. How is this possible? One must know that even with the best and most spirit fruits, it would be impossible for a void prying stage martial artist to cross 2 levels in just 1 or 2 months. The medicinal power of spirit fruits needs time to be digested. Otherwise, it cannot be fully manifested. I went through a water-related checkpoint inside. There, I completely merged with the water and was subjected to its impact. Finally, it seemed to trigger a certain power within me, causing my true origin to fluctuate and then directly break through. Feng Tianwu replied. A water checkpoint? Duan Ling Tian naturally knew what Feng Tianwu was referring to. It was merely the area covered by the inscription formation that could create water. He had also encountered that checkpoint, but his spiritual force had immediately temporarily shut down the inscription formation. So he didn't need to force his way through it at all. But Feng Tianwu was different. She didn't have spiritual force like Duan Ling Tian's. Moreover, she didn't understand the way of inscriptions So she couldn't do what Duan Ling Tian did. She could only force her way through. Water, triggering a certain power? Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck Duan Ling Tian, as if he remembered something, and he immediately looked at Feng Wu Dao. This moment. Duan Ling Tian also noticed Feng Wu Dao looking at him. Fire spirit body. Duan Ling Tian and Feng Wu Dao exchanged glances, speaking almost simultaneously. They had clearly thought of the same thing, the certain power within Feng Tian Wu, which she said was triggered by water, should be the extra power she possessed as a fire spirit body. That power would fully erupt when Feng Tian Wu turned 30. If Feng Tian Wu couldn't withstand it, she would surely die. Before that, that power would slowly dissipate, integrating into Feng Tian Wu's body and aiding her cultivation. This was also the reason for Feng Tian Wu's extremely rapid cultivation progress. So, the water in the illusory palace forced the power of the fire spirit body within Tian Wu to erupt, helping Tian Wu to advance to the void prying stage, second level, in one go. Duan Ling Tian secretly speculated, Tian Wu, when that power erupted within you, did you feel anything? Duan Ling Tian asked with a solemn expression. At that time, I only felt an intense burning sensation throughout my meridians, as if they were about to explode. At the critical moment, the water pressing around me extended a force that suppressed it, causing it to merge with my true origin and help me break through in one go. Feng Tian Wu recalled the scene at that time. It's pretty much what I thought. Duan Ling Tian nodded, and Feng Wu Dao, from his daughter's words, also realized the danger of this matter, and couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat for her. The power of the fire spirit body is indeed formidable. If it can be continuously drawn out appropriately like this, perhaps it can allow Tian Wu to possess a void transformation stage cultivation before she turns 30. If Tian Wu can have a void transformation stage cultivation by the time she's 30, she might be able to withstand the power of the fire spirit body hidden within her. Duan Ling Tian thought to himself, there are still nearly 5 years. It's a bit tight. Soon, Duan Ling Tian's gaze became resolute, and no matter what, he would try every possible method to help Tian Wu break through to the void transformation stage before she turned 30. He would never stand by and watch Tian Wu perish. As long as Tian Wu could withstand the eruption of the fire spirit body at 30, her future would be boundless. Fire spirit body. Jin Shisan and Dao Wu stared blankly at Feng Tian Wu. Their eyes tinged with a hint of pity. They naturally knew what a fire spirit body meant. It meant that those with this physique could not live past 30 unless they broke through to the void transformation stage before 30. But for the possessors of the fire spirit body, this was almost an impossible feat. Possessors of the fire spirit body might initially be able to use spirit fruits to aid their cultivation. But once they entered the void prying stage, they could no longer use spirit fruits to cultivate, because the medicinal power contained in spirit fruits specifically for void prying stage martial artists was too strong. And it would, to some extent, stir up the power of the fire spirit body hidden within the body at that time. At best, they would suffer chi deviation, and at worst, they would die suddenly. Duan Ling Tian was naturally aware of this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have felt the time crunch. Tian Wu is a fire spirit body possessor and has already broken through to the void prying stage. If she could consume spirit fruits, coupled with the assistance of fire intent fragments, breaking through to the void transformation stage before 30 would not be difficult. But the problem is, even if there were spirit fruits specifically for void prying stage martial artists in front of Tian Wu, she couldn't consume them. This, too, was the most troublesome aspect. Regardless, Tian Wu, you've turned a misfortune into a blessing this time. Duan Ling Tian said with a smile. Whoosh. Suddenly, another figure appeared at the exit of the illusory palace. This was the 7th person to emerge after Feng Tian Wu. This was an ordinary-looking young man, and the first thing he did upon coming out was to scan the group of people above the fighting arena. It was as if he wanted to know who had taken the tokens numbered 1 to 7. When his gaze landed on Duan Ling Tian and Feng Tian Wu, an incredible look of surprise appeared on his face. How is that possible? It's someone from the great Chu dynasty. the great Chu dynasty's strongest young generation, Ochun. Soon, someone recognized the identity of this eighth young man who emerged from the illusory palace, Ochun. Seeing Ochun emerge in time, the great Chu dynasty's representative was all smiles. How could they have come out before me? After Ochun returned to the great Chu dynasty representative's side, he still found it hard to believe that Duanling Tian and Feng Tianwu could have cleared the illusory palace before him. That Duanling Tian is quite something. He was the first one out. Token number 1 is in his hand. The great Chu dynasty representative noticed that Ochun's gaze was constantly fixed on Duanling Tian's side and couldn't help but say, "What?" Upon hearing this, Ochun's already astonished face completely froze. After a while, he finally came back to his senses, swallowing hard. This Duanling Tian. He was actually the first person to clear the illusory palace and come out. How many was that red-clothed woman next to him? Taking a deep breath, Ochun asked again. She was quite late, but still before you. She was the 7th to come out. Token number 7 should be in her hand. The great Chu dynasty representative sighed. You are at the void prying stage, 3rd level, yet you came out after her. Could it be that her strength is even greater than yours? She seems to be only 25, right? It shouldn't be possible. Ochun shook his head while secretly thinking. Perhaps she spent less time when she encountered those illusion formations in the illusory palace. In terms of pure strength, she can't be stronger than me. After Ochun, the 9th person also emerged quickly. Another woman. The person who now appeared before everyone was a woman in a tight-fitting outfit with a fiery figure. Unfortunately, she was only of average looks, but her ability to stand out as a woman was enough to prove her formidable. Strength point 1 must know that among the 100 young talents from the 10 dynasties participating in the 10 dynasty martial arts meet, there were no more than 20 female martial artists. Her appearance at this time undoubtedly showed that she had already surpassed more than 70 male martial artists. It's Yiling, the acknowledged female overlord of the great Qing dynasty's contemporary young generation. It's said that she was already at the void-prying stage, 2nd level a year ago, and now she has very likely broken through to the void-prying stage, 3rd level. Someone recognized the woman. Great Qing dynasty Yiling? After Feng Tianwu, seeing a second woman appear at this time, Duanling Tian couldn't help but be a little surprised. If there are no surprises, I should be the only female martial artist among the top 10 token holders. Facing the converging gazes and exclamations, a smug smile appeared on Yiling's ordinary face. However, when her gaze reached a distant spot, it completely froze there, unable to move away. Asterisk. How is that possible? How could she have come out earlier than me? Yiling stared intently at Feng Tianwu in the distance, her pupils constricted, unwilling to accept that what she saw before her was real. How could any woman have cleared the illusory palace earlier than her? And it was this woman who was so beautiful she made her jealous. As a woman, who wouldn't wish for a face that could topple nations? In the past, she had seen many women more beautiful than her, but almost all of them were mere pretty faces. What good was beauty in a world where the strong reigned supreme? She could dictate their fates. Therefore, Yiling had always felt that although heaven had not bestowed upon her a face that could topple nations, it had given her martial arts talent no less than a man's. But now, that Feng Tianwu cruelly shattered the pride in her heart, making her feel like a pathetic worm in terms of appearance. She was inferior to the other party in terms of strength. From the current perspective, the other party being able to clear the illusory palace before her clearly meant she was not weaker than her. Asterisk.